Hi, Chris here from WhiteheadIndustrial.com, and today I'd like to go over a few maintenance procedures on circular saws. Before I begin, this particular circular saw is a 5007 MB Makita, very good saw. Your saw configuration might be a little different, but these procedures can be done on any circular saw. For the most part, circular saws are almost maintenance free, unless you got something like a worm drive saw that requires a lot of gear oil to be maintained. These things are pretty maintenance free as long as they're treated right and used correctly. But there's a couple things you can do. Before every use, it's a good idea to check your cord, make sure there are no cuts or nicks in it. If you've got a cut in there that's past that outer insulation, it's a good idea to go ahead and change this cord. That'll keep you safe, people around you safe, and OSHA from writing you a large bill. Another thing you can check, and this doesn't have to be every time but periodically, now is the brushes. This particular model has brush caps on the side that you just remove to get to the brushes. Your saw might be set up a little different. Some of the, like DeWalt, they have a cap that comes off the whole end. You take two screws out, the black cap comes off, and then you can see your brushes. But pretty much the same check is done on all brushes. You want to check the length. This particular brush is good and long. You got a lot left on it. If your brush gets down more than halfway, even close to, if you want to even push it down to a quarter of the brush, I would go ahead and change it. You know, it's more than halfway. You know, if you're down to right about there, about a quarter of the brush, you might as well go ahead and change that brush. That'll keep you from being on a job site and the brush failing on you. Another thing to check is the end of your brush. You want to make sure it's nice and shiny, no bad scoring or burning. This particular one you can see is good and shiny. There's a few grooves in it. That's just because some dirt or debris has passed between the brush and the commutator. This brush is good, but now if you were to see a lot of burning and scoring on here, that would indicate that either you have some debris in the brush holder keeping the brush from making contact, or the commutator itself, the armature, has a bad spot in it. So brushes can be a good indicator of the health of your tool. You take them out and look at them. If they're burnt real bad, then you've either got a brush and brush holder problem or you've got an armature problem. So it's good to check them out periodically. It's a good idea to do it every couple of cuts. You know, if this is an everyday tool, you know, once a week. It don't hurt you on, you know, Friday evening before you put them up for the weekend. Take the brushes out, check it. Another thing to do is blow that brush holder out real good, because debris will pack in around this brush, and actually it'll get seized in the brush holder, and eventually it'll just stop making contact. So if you're ever out on a job site and your tool just stops running all of a sudden, it's a good thing to check the brushes. You probably got a piece of debris caught in that brush holder, keeping that brush from making contact with the armature. If it won't make contact with the armature, it won't work. After you've checked your brushes, another good thing to check, and probably the more important thing to check, would be your blade. Your blade needs to be sharp. You can see this blade right here. See how dark it is? It's where it's literally discolored from working. It's burnt through the wood. You can see this blade has several teeth missing, and the teeth that are there are dull. This particular blade has been used well beyond its lifespan. A dull blade causes the tool to work harder, causes your job to take longer, and it's just bad practice. It's a good idea to keep that blade, keep a good sharp blade on there. It'll help you work faster and more efficiently. It'll keep this saw running longer. The duller the blade, the more this thing has to work to cut through the wood, because when a blade's like this one, missing teeth and dull, it's more chewing through the wood than it is cutting the wood, and that's just bad all the way around. It makes your work look bad, and it makes the tool work twice as hard. After you do that, you want to check that blade guard. Make sure your blade guard returns like it's supposed to. You've got a spring on most of them. You can see this spring actually wraps around the bottom here. You might have a little different setup on your saw, but for the most part, they're all the same. I mean, they have a return spring that pulls the guard back. You want to make sure that guard pulls back and returns like it's supposed to. It's not cracked or broken, and it's working safely and efficiently like it's supposed to. Making sure this guard works was another good thing to keep OSHA from writing you a good bill. And it also keeps you safe, because if this doesn't return like it's supposed to, you could set that thing down without paying attention, and you know the blade's still exposed, it's still spinning, and it'll just walk right across your work surface, or you might accidentally set it down and it run across your foot. So it's a good thing to have this blade guard checked, make sure it's working. And last, now this last part doesn't have to be done maybe once a year. So according to how heavy you use the tool, is your grease inside the gear case. Every so often, every year or so, it's a good idea to take it into the shop and get the grease repacked. Grease does break down over time, and you want grease in there. These, especially this kind of saw right here, it's got a large spindle gear and it's got an armature gear, and those are two metal gears running on each other, and they need grease. Without grease, it'll be metal on metal, and they'll wear out twice as fast. So if you want to keep this saw running good and smooth for a long time, have that grease repacked. And while they're there, they'll check your bearings and everything, make sure your ball bearings are good and they don't need to be changed out or re-lubed. But that's pretty much it as far as simple maintenance procedures to make sure your tool's running efficiently. And I appreciate you watching this video, and have a good day.